Soviet Union, 1983. In the first shots we see two cosmonauts, Sveshnikov and Averchenko. The Orbit 4 spacecraft undocks from the station. At some point, the cosmonauts lost control, and all of the ship systems failed. When everything calmed down, the attention of Averchenko and Sveshnikov was attracted by something alive, right in outer space. It was about to go right in. Orbit 4 made an unscheduled landing in a remote area. When a local resident came to see what was wrong, he found Averchenko without any signs of life. Sveshnikov was alive, but feeling very ill. Further action takes us to Moscow. At the institute, a commission was preparing to hear the case of Tatyana Klimova, a neurophysiologist. She is accused of having tested a non-standard treatment technique on a 17-year-old patient, whom she kept underwater for a minute. Tatyana is convinced that she did everything right, but the boy's mother did not like this method of therapy, and she intends to get Tatyana fired. The commission members are unaware that Colonel Semiradov is observing them. Later, he personally asked Tatyana to go with him and to examine one unusual patient. The colonel assured Tatyana that if she complied with the request, all issues with the commission would be settled. Tatyana and Colonel Semiradov flew away in a helicopter in an unknown direction. On the way, he told her that the press does not know the whole truth about what happened on Orbit 4. The day before landing, communication with the crew was lost and the incident occurred. Tatyana's patient will be Commander Konstantin Sveshnikov. He has partial amnesia. Tatyana suspects that Semiradov did not tell her the whole truth. The colonel and the doctor have arrived at a military base. This facility is under very tight security. Everything that happens here is top secret. Tatyana observed the patient through one-way glass. The scientific director of the institute, Rigel, tries to subject the cosmonaut to hypnosis in order to bring back his memories. However, it brings no result. When Rigel leaves, Sveshnikov demands to be released and to answer what happened to Averchenko. Tatyana looked at Konstantin's personal file and went into his cell to have a conversation with him. Konstantin is very happy with the company of a beautiful woman, but she ignores his advances. He leaves Tatyana his mother's phone number so that she would let her know that her son was all right. Later, Tatyana told Semiradov that Konstantin was in an anxious, depressive state, but that was normal, given that he was being held here virtually as a prisoner. The colonel thanked the doctor for his work and said that a helicopter would come for her in the morning. Tatyana was given the keys to her room. She wanted to call Moscow, but long-distance calls are only made through Semiradov. At night she could not sleep, so she went for a run. Later, Semiradov knocked on the door, determined to show her something. Tatyana was taken to the block, which is full of military personnel. The cell where Konstantin sleeps is heavily guarded. At one point, Tatyana sees through the surveillance cameras that the cosmonaut begins to convulse violently. Suddenly a creature begins to come out of his mouth. Once out in the open, the alien begins to crawl around the cell. Tatyana was allowed to walk right up to the armored glass. The creature looked at her and then tried to attack, but ran into an obstacle. Tatyana became very ill after what she saw. Semiradov told her that every night the alien gets out of the cosmonaut and returns without any harm to the host. And this host is Sveshnikov. At the same time, the cosmonaut knows nothing about it. Tatyana's task is to find a way to separate the parasite and the host. Semiradov admitted that it was Tatyana who was assigned this task because she had nothing to lose. Tatyana demanded that the colonel provide her with all the information, including video recordings and the results of all the research. Tatyana read all the materials. Now there is no safe way to separate the alien and the cosmonaut. They have formed a unique symbiosis. If the creature is isolated, all of Sveshnikov's vital signs plummet. For the alien, he is something of a spacesuit in a hostile external world, providing the host with unique regeneration abilities. Tatyana watched the videos over and over again. She asked Rigel, who was not satisfied with her presence at the base, where Sveshnikov's son was now. At the time Konstantin's girlfriend passed away, they were living in Rostov. Tatyana is also interested in what the creature eats. Rigel replied that the same as Sveshnikov himself. That same day, Tatyana called the orphanage to see if Konstantin's son was really there. In the following footage, we see a child in an orphanage trying to get up from wheelchair to steal the keys. But the child is caught by the janitor. During the next conversation with the patient, Tatyana lied that he was being held here because everyone thought he had lost his mind and took the life of the co-pilot. Tatyana also started deliberately asking him unpleasant questions about his abandoned son. In her opinion, Konstantin did not adopt the boy, as an illegitimate child would spoil his record. Sveshnikov asked the doctor to leave. Later, she explained to Semiradov and Rigel that she provoked Konstantin on purpose in order to take tests from him in a state of stress. That way the clinical picture of his condition would be clearer. Also, Veshnyukov should be transferred to the medical unit and allowed to communicate with civilian personnel. Konstantin was left under guard in a separate room. News reports say that both cosmonauts are supposedly alive and well and are now in 3 weeks of rehabilitation. Konstantin was visited by Tatyana to explain her recent behavior. He admitted that he did not know about the child, his girlfriend did not tell him anything. He was informed about it a week before the flight when the boy's mother passed away. The child had no other relatives, and Konstantin planned to pick him up when he returned. Konstantin understands that he is not being treated here for amnesia. Tatyana can't tell him the truth, but she promises to help. At night, Konstantin was transferred back to his cell. The creature has no auditory receptors, but it sensed Tatyana's presence. She tries to communicate with the alien, and at one point notices its lively reaction to Konstantin's toy. She asked Rigel and Semiradov to raise the glass protection. Tatyana was equipped in a protective suit and launched into the cell. She put the toy on the floor, eliciting an instant reaction from the alien. When Tatyana tried to touch the creature, it attacked her. The military quickly rescued her from the cell. While Tatyana was unconscious, Semiradov returned to the alien. All night long Tatyana took notes. The colonel paid her a visit and thanked her for her courage. Tatyana expressed the opinion that the alien and Veshnyukov have one consciousness for two. Every night it spends a minute longer outside the body of the host, and one day it will get rid of him, like a butterfly from a cocoon. No one knows what they are dealing with. Semiradov does everything he can to prevent his superiors from ordering the destruction of Konstantin, along with the parasite. Once again watching the video, Tatyana realized that part of the recording had been deleted. Tatyana suspects that the creature does not feed on the same thing as Veshnyukov. Rigel advises her not to ask unnecessary questions, but Tatyana convinces her colleague that if they cooperate and make progress in the research, Rigel will receive the Nobel Prize he so dreams of. Semiradov does not need to know about it at all. Rigel agreed to reveal the whole truth after all. Tatyana was taken to a secret location on the base. She was horrified to see the prisoners, brought here from prison, being sent to be eaten to an alien. The sight made her vomit. It took her a long time to settle down. Rigel explained that they tried to offer laboratory mice and pigs as food to the parasite, but the alien is not interested in animals. It feeds on cortisol, the stress hormone, so it is important to it that its prey experience intense fear before attacking. Rigel is convinced that they are on the verge of great discoveries. In the afternoon Tatyana came to Konstantin and offered to go for a run. When it was just the two of them, she told him the whole truth. In her opinion, it is urgent to report what is going on here to the higher-ups. Konstantin did not answer anything, only said that they had to meet at 1 o'clock in the morning. Before going to bed he was given sleeping pills as usual, but he did not swallow the pills, slipping them into the tea of the girl who was on watch. Then Konstantin took out something he had stashed beforehand. He needed it to fool the security camera. That way he and Tatyana were able to go unnoticed. He led her to the room where the bodies are. So Tatyana realized that Konstantin knew about the parasite and everything that happens to it. He confessed that he remembers to the smallest detail all the things this alien does and sees, but he can't stop it. Konstantin asks not to tell Semiradov about it, otherwise he's finished. In 2 weeks a commission should come here, and then there will be hope for salvation. Next, we are shown how the child in the orphanage is trying to get the keys again. Tatyana is taken to the colonel. He knows that Tatyana is aware of the spooky details of their research. Semiradov's task: to take control of this creature in order to invent biological weapons in the future. According to the colonel, all these prisoners are not human, but fodder. They have committed terrible crimes and are unworthy to live. If his superiors find out, Semiradov faces a court-martial, but that does not stop him. He intends to show Tatyana the feeding process up close. Watching the process from the sidelines, Tatyana demanded that the cage be opened and went in. She knows that if she suppresses her fear, the alien will not attack. Tatyana began to hum Konstantin's favorite song. The alien is gradually adapting, now he has hearing. The creature allowed Tatyana to live, but attacked the prisoner. Later, Semiradov asked her directly if Vishnyukov could control the alien. She said that not yet. Semiradov decides to keep Tatyana alive in exchange for her cooperation. It is necessary to find a way to share the symbiosis. During her research, she realized that the alien chose Veshnyakov over Averchenko because the co-pilot had early-stage cancer. It was impossible to determine this before the launch. To prevent the military from understanding them, Tatyana spoke to Rigel in Latin. She asked for his help, otherwise this experiment would lead to irreparable consequences. Despite his ambition, Rigel agreed to help them escape. Tatyana injected the military man with sleeping pills and took his gun. While Rigel was watching the door, Tatyana came to get Konstantin and told him that no commission was coming. Tatyana came up with a way to get rid of the parasite. It is necessary to make a special injection that suppresses the production of certain hormones, as was the case with Averchenko's disease. Konstantin refuses to go with Tatyana, believing it to be too dangerous. Now he and the creature are one. Then Tatyana reminded him of his son, who will be 7 years old in a week. For him, Konstantin must live. Rigel provided them with a car. He himself decided to stay at the base, even though it might cost him his life. Barricading the door, he called the superiors. Upon learning of the escape, Semiradov ordered the soldiers to return Veshnyakov and eliminate Tatyana. While the couple tried to escape, Semiradov broke into Rigel's office and took the scientist's life. Konstantin gave himself a shot, releasing the parasite that attacked the military. Tatyana, meanwhile, carried Konstantin into the car and raced away from the base. Semiradov decided to go out to the monster in person. Konstantin was getting worse and worse. Tatyana was taking him to the hospital, while the creature engaged in a fight with Semiradov. Tatyana realized that without the parasite, Konstantin could not survive. There is no other choice but to let the alien return to his body. The military arrived. Tatyana admitted that she was mistaken. The symbiotes could no longer be separated. The alien emerged from the box and attacked the soldiers and took Semiradov's life. The parasite then returned to Konstantin's body. Military cars arrived, sent to the base. Suddenly Konstantin took his own life and the creature's to end the nightmare. Being in a state of shock, Tatyana could not hold back tears. Sometime later she came to Rostov. In the past, the child tried to get the keys again. The janitor took pity on the disabled boy, gave him shoes and let him walk outside. But it turned out that it was not a boy, but a girl named Tatyana. In the present, Tatyana came to the orphanage to adopt Alexei, Konstantin's son. When she saw the boy, she hugged him.